So welcome to the top 5 questions we get asked about the boosted Lexi. Question number 1, will it do a burnout? Yeah, I would say that counts as a yes. So welcome back to Lucore Automotive, the home of the boosted Lexi. Hopefully you've seen this car before. It's been featured on a few things. We've also made a video of it before, and judging by all of the interest and the tremendous amount of comments we get on it, we've decided that it might be a good idea to make a more in-depth Q&A video. So that's what you are watching now. This is going to be the top 5 things that we get asked about this boosted Lexi build. Now it is a 2002 Lexus IS300. It is a 2JZ GE-T, and it is original block. It is original head. It is original cam. The bottom end has been replaced with all turbo goodness, and built to be able to withstand the pressures and abuse that we planned on giving it. Now that process was not cheap nor easy. The machining bill alone and the upgraded forged internal parts that are now in this thing definitely ran up the bill a bit. So one of the first and most important questions we get asked, and the most commonly asked question if you pay attention to the boards and the other comments, is how much does it cost to build this thing? Alright, I'm going to answer this one time. It's really hard to say. If you were to build another one of these cars, it really depends on where you start from. This car was a low mileage car when we got it. It was in the low 50,000s as far as mileage goes. Everything was in pretty good shape. It wasn't beat on and abused. The person who owned it previous to this owner, whom we built this car for, took pretty good care of this car. So it came in pretty dang good condition. We didn't have to replace a lot of things that you normally would replace on a car of the 2002 vintage. Really depends on what you're starting from. If you're starting with a low mileage, quality vehicle, somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000. It's expensive. It really is. There's not any other way to say it. It was expensive to build this thing, and it was not something that you would typically want to do in your own garage at your house. As hot rodders by nature, we tend to overdo things and over-engineer things and do things the proper way versus do things the easy, cheap, and quick way. That is what it is. We're very proud of how this car has turned out. There's not a lot that I would change on this car from when we built it a year and a half ago. Still going strong, almost zero problems, knock on wood, since it's been built, and hopefully it continues to do so. Question number 1, will it do a burnout? Question number 2, how much did it cost? $35,000, $45,000. Question number 3, why did you build it with a 2JZ GE instead of going to a 2JZ GTE Aristo swap? Very good question. We were actually in the process of doing a 2JZ GTE Aristo swap in another vehicle. Jeremy Moore's Mark III Supra. It was originally a 7M GTE car. We have almost completed the swap on the GTE swap for it. But with this car, we really wanted to kind of show off the capabilities of the IS300. Everybody knows you can take a 2JZ GTE and just stick it between the frame rails of anything and make it fast. It's kind of like LS swapping everything. Yeah, no kidding. You can make an LS swap work in anything. So for us, it was a little bit more of a challenge to be able to make this thing work. We also wanted to see what the upper limits of what the stock stuff could really do. Now, I get you that it's not stock stuff because the bottom end has been replaced. This is the original block. this is the original crank. The rods have been upgraded so that they can handle boost, and the pistons have been upgraded to forged pistons with lower compression so they can handle boost. It's still running on pump gas. It's still running on the stock throttle body. It's still running on the stock intake manifold. It's still running on a lot of stock components that are getting to where the end of where they can be is. And a lot of people, especially if you're wanting to build something for the street, you want something that's fun, that's drivable, that's enjoyable all the time, that's not a major pain in the neck. This is right at that edge of really fun and wild and a little terrifying, but still super drivable. This car has a full interior. There's nothing missing in this thing. Everything works. Air conditioning, radio, power seats, literally everything works. We wanted this car to be a race car for the street, and we wanted to show off what the 2JZ GE platform could do pushed to its max. And the answer is basically this: 500 horsepower on pump gas, 550 on race gas, because we're running into the limits of what the intercooler that's under the front bumper can do, what the intake manifold can handle, what the stock throttle body can handle. We're starting to see intake temperatures climbing past where we'd like them to climb. It shows what the stock 2JZ GE can really do without doing the, yeah, no kidding, put a 2JZ GTE in it and it goes fast. Now, I will also say, this car is running on the stock street cams, which is really nice for drivability. As you drive around on the street, you don't have any kind of negative situation about driving this thing. I mean, I'm driving, country roads and stopping and starting, and there's nothing that's painful about it at all. It's super drivable. Everything below 3,000 RPMs is like it would be normally from the factory. You're not really going to notice any drivability difference. And then it wakes up, obviously, once the boost comes in, and it pulls 20 pounds of boost all the way to redline, which is 7,000 RPMs or so. Transmission, what do we do? This is a transmission out of a Mark III Supra. This is an R154 transmission, bone stock. The R154 transmission is a fantastic transmission. It holds most of the time, no problems whatsoever, around 700 horsepower. This car has been, I don't know how many thousands of miles we've driven this thing, probably 5,000 miles in the last 2 years. Since it's been built, and there's no problems. There's no grinding, there's no slipping, there's no popping out of gear, there's none of that stuff. Everything works. Now, because this car didn't come with an R154 transmission in it, it was a manual to begin with. We did have to get an adapter plate that allowed us to bring the shifter directly through where we needed it to without having to cut up anything in the transmission tunnel, which was fantastic. Now, it did also require us to get a custom one-piece drive shaft made. This has a Spicer one-piece drive shaft in it, which does add a little bit of chatter every now and then, but it's going to be able to hold up to what we're going to ask out of it. It is the stock Lexus rear end that's in the rear of this thing. What can the stock unit take? Most people will admit that the stock unit can do well north of 500 at the tires, and well, we're a testament to that. So last most commonly asked question, what are we running for wheels and tires on this thing? We get asked this a lot, and there's a lot of argument back and forth on what works, what doesn't work, what fits, what doesn't fit. So this car is running a set of ESR wheels. They're an 18 by 8.5 in the front with a 30 offset. They're an 18 by 9.5 in the rear with a 35 offset. We have all these wheels wrapped in Toyota T1 tires. Excellent street tire, sticky but still streetable, aggressive, but they're not super loud when driving down the road. Again, this is a car that we want to be able to daily drive, and Kevin wants to be able to daily drive. So something that's super, super aggressive and then you have to replace every 5,000 miles is not attractive. Yes, it's completely capable of burning the tires off the back of this thing, but in normal driving, it's not a big deal. You can drive this car in the rain, it doesn't bother you at all. You got to be a little, you know, careful with the throttle, but those Toyota T1s do a fantastic job. Now, size-wise, we have a 245, 35, 18 in the front, and we have a 275, 35, 18 in the rear. 245 is about as wide as you're going to be able to run on the front of these things, and it gives it excellent steerability. Does not lose any kind of traction in corners. The 275 is about as big as you're going to be able to get on the rear of this thing before you start getting real aggressive as far as clearancing fenders and wheel wells and that kind of thing. And the last thing we wanted to do was tear this car apart. So a lot of people will complain and say that that's not going to work, it's not enough traction, or that that's too big of a tire. How did you do it? Why don't you get any rub? Well, a lot of that comes down to getting set up properly. And not to toot our own horns, but toot toot. This does have a set of CXRacing coilovers under it. We are an alignment shop. We do a lot of suspension work. So we do have this thing dialed in pretty well to the point where it dances around nicely, it tracks perfectly well, and everything is set up so it does not rub the tires. So whether or not that's magic sauce, it is what it is. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. We wanted to give you guys a little bit of a behind the scenes, more of a deeper dive as far as what's in this car, what it's capable of, and we realized that the audio in our last video was kind of terrible. So if you guys want to know more about this car, feel free to put it in the comments. We always like questions. We always enjoy interacting with other people who like this build and who are interested in doing one of their own. I guess as a bonus question, question number 6 is, will we build another one of these? Maybe. There are a couple of people that have asked us that are in the Ohio region to build one or to work on one that they've got in the process. There's a lot of man hours involved in getting this thing done right. And as a functional daily working shop, taking on projects of this magnitude are not something we can do easily. It did take over a year to get this car built, and we only take on 1 or 2 projects a year that are anywhere near this scale, so we'll see. Now, I will fully admit that with that said, there is another 2JZ project coming up after the Mark III Turbo Supra for Jeremy is done. I'm not going to tell you what that is yet, but you'll see it sometime next year. So hopefully you've all enjoyed this, and it's been fun showing this car off over the past 2 years, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in the future. So make sure you click on that subscribe button. As always, drop us a comment, click on the like button, and there will be more boosted Lexi in the near future. We promise you that. Until next time, have a good one.